In this video, I will compare three major stock photography platforms. These are Adobe Stock, Getty Images, and Shutterstock. Among things that I look at are differences in pay rates, pay per download for stock photos and stock videos. In our previous two videos, we looked at Shutterstock and Adobe Stock in great detail, so check them out. If you're new here, welcome. My wife and I have been stock photographers since 2015, and we firsthand witnessed the transformation of stock photography. And the last 5 years have been especially challenging. It is still possible to make a living out of stock photography, but it requires way more effort than ever. When it comes to selling stock photos or videos online, all three platforms make it very easy to start. You sign up and voila, you're in. All three websites accept editorial and commercial stock photos. But Adobe Stock accepts only the illustrative editorial images. Adobe has detailed guidelines when it comes to illustrative editorial photos. These are images of brands, logos, and other property that you don't have property releases for. But Adobe's main rule is that you must not have recognizable people there. As for stock videos, Shutterstock is the only one that accepts both commercial and editorial footage. Getty Images and Adobe Stock accept only commercial clips. That's one of the reasons why our video portfolio is smaller on Getty and Adobe. Finally, so far Adobe Stock has been the only big three platform that allows selling AI content. Getty and Shutterstock prohibit contributors from uploading AI images. But they do have their own AI generative subscription plans. They allow customers to create and download AI images. I find this situation somewhat ironic and tilted in favor of Getty and Shutterstock. And here I have two tips that can save you time and maximize your income. The first one is to sell editorial content if you're not doing so. Our unreleased editorial content like stock photos and videos sell extremely well, especially editorial footage. We predict that the editorial content will be much more resilient to the onslaught of AI imagery. You can of course create AI photos or even videos of people, objects, and some situations. But can you fake a real place, a real people, or a real events? Well, that's a different matter. So before I was scoffing at editorial content. I was almost always going, oh, I just want to take commercial. But actually now I see a lot of value in editorial photos and videos. The second tip is to use property and model release app. We use the Easy Release app. Yes, it costs money, but I cannot tell you enough how much time it saved us over all these years. It lets you create releases, sign and store them electronically on the cloud. And it's one of the few apps whose electronic releases are accepted by all three major platforms. We are not affiliated with Easy Release, just found their app exceptionally useful. When it comes to uploading content, we do everything ourselves, and we don't use services like Blackbox or Stocksometer. And there are pros and cons to them, but the biggest con for us is that you have to pay them cut or a fee in exchange for their services. And in reality, if you are submitting to a few platforms like we do your stock content, it doesn't take too much time to do that. We submit photos only to Getty, Shutterstock, Adobe Stock and Alamy. At the same time, we submit videos to Pond5, Getty, Shutterstock and Adobe. And we use FileZilla for that. It's a free software that lets you do upload in bulk to those websites. Then you go to the website of each respective platform and submit your content there. The most annoying platform is, of course, Getty Images. They ask contributors to disambiguate keywords. This process takes time and annoys the heck out of me. Unfortunately, it's a necessary evil. True, we have to submit our content several times on those websites. But it doesn't take that much time and we avoid paying fees and 15% cut from our future sales, as is the case with Blackbox. Of course, it's our preference and experience, and you may have your own reasons for why you would use those third-party services. When it comes to contributor payouts, Adobe Stock is the best paying platform hands down. It stands at 33% for photos and 35% for videos. iStock of Getty Images pays one of the industry lowest rates of 15% for non-exclusive photos. Their pay rate for non-exclusive videos is 20%. It may seem like Shutterstock promises a much higher pay rate, but as you may know, there are hoops and tiers to jump through before you get to the highest paying 40%. Take me for example. I have about 17,000 stock photos on Shutterstock in my portfolio. It takes me a month to get to level 5 with a 35% cut. And after that, I'm pretty much stuck there. And I would say that to achieve level 6 with 40% max cut, you would need tens of thousands of stock photos just to get there. As for stock videos, I have about 5,000 clips, and I get to level 4 with 30% cut sometimes in the second half of the year. So on average, my pay cut for stock videos from Shutterstock is around probably 25 to 30%. Of course, I will be amiss if I don't mention exclusive rates for iStock. Yes, they're higher, but they also come with their own download thresholds for stock photos and videos. If, let's say, we would go exclusive with iStock, our average stock photo rate would be probably 30%. Our average stock video rate would be around 25%. Yes, it's an improvement from our non-exclusive rates for photos and videos. But does it justify going exclusive with Getty? In our experience, the answer is negative. No matter how we slice or dice it, it would not make financial sense. To finish the topic of pay rates, I want to briefly mention the minimum contributor payments. All three platforms have so-called large subscription plans. For instance, Shutterstock's plan for 750 images a month cost $199. That's roughly 27 cents per download in revenues for them. With, let's say, 20% contributor cut, you get 5 cents, right? The answer is no. All three platforms have so-called minimum guaranteed payments in such cases. Shutterstock and iStock pay 10 cents across all types of sales. Adobe has a much higher minimum payment rate. This rate ranges from 33 cents to 38 cents depending on your lifetime download levels. After seeing the contributor payouts, here's our take. The larger your portfolio is, the more sales you will generate, and this is especially true for Shutterstock with its levels. But having a large portfolio will not guarantee necessarily higher sales. We always try to have a portfolio with a diverse and unique content that's in demand. Here's another tip from our experience. You must renew your portfolio every roughly 5 to 7 years. Let's suppose that you have 10,000 stock photos that earn you about $10,000 a year from all the platforms if you combine the earnings. And that roughly translates into $1 in sales per asset on average from all the platforms. And if you're earning more than $1 per asset in a given year, you're probably doing better than average. Anyway, in about 5 to 7 years, your stock photography earnings may start dropping below $10,000. In other words, you must upload new stock photos over the course of 5 to 7 years to keep your income steady and growing. The reason is simple. Stock photography platforms are hungry for new content. They tend to promote it more and put it in front of the buyer's eyeballs first in search results. And hence the older content will tend to get pushed down, get fewer views and sales. The next part is our pay-per-download rates for the past 12 months. Let's start with stock photos. Here's a table comparing pay-per-download across three platforms. We can see that Adobe Stock is our best earning platform, hands down. It is better compared to Shutterstock even if we control for a higher payout rate at Adobe. But what's interesting is this. True, Getty's pay-per-download is the lowest here. But if we control for the fact that our payout rate of 15% is more than 2 times smaller there, 58 cents is actually pretty good. Next, let's move on to pay-per-download for stock videos. As it stands now, we earn much more on Shutterstock per each video download at $11. In comparison, we get $6.70 per video download on Adobe. As for Getty Images, the picture is not so clear. We only recently started uploading our stock videos there. After I have submitted several thousand videos over the past several months, the pay-per-download for stock videos on Getty is kinda low, at about $1.50. But again, it's just too early to conclude. I will report back on my pay-per-download rates on Getty as more time goes by. At the same time, the reason why we get more pay-per-download for stock videos on Adobe and Shutterstock is because we get more enhanced license sales there. And enhanced licenses, they tend to cost more and of course bring more pay-per-download with them. On another note, as you may know, Getty and Shutterstock announced a merger in January. The merger will create the largest content platform in the world by sales. My research shows that the combined company will likely control over 40% of the stock photography market. I have a separate video where I took a deep dive into this transaction. You can watch this video linked here. So, what can new or aspiring stock photographers do to maximize their chances of succeeding? For starters, I would definitely work on uploading your stock videos. Even with fewer sales, stock videos pay way more compared to stock photos. In fact, if I were starting today, I would put most of my effort into stock videos and time lapses. Next, I would be very selective where I put out my content. True, you can upload and submit your photos and videos to over a dozen of different stock photography platforms. But what's the return on that? In our case, the effort was not worth it, and so we decided to focus on only those places where we get most of our revenues and cut out everything else. So as it stands now, we submit our photos and videos only to 5 platforms, and that's it. Next, I would try to simplify and squeeze out as much efficiency as humanly possible out of your photography workflow. Editing or keywording photos for hours may not be worth it. This may result in substandard pay if you add up all the hours. We made tutorials where we share our workflow and point out a few suggestions. We linked everything in the description. Also, I would take advantage of certain Photoshop plugins. Plugins can improve and speed up your workflow big time. But we use very few Photoshop plugins and we are very selective about it because it can get very expensive. One plugin we love and use often is Topaz Photo AI. Their sharpen and denoise filters are some of the best in the industry. They can save noisy or blurry photos that at first sight may look unsalvageable. The program is not 100% perfect, but it is essential in our workflow. We left a link in the description to Topaz Photo AI. The other plugins we use come from Nik Collection. We especially like Nik Color Effects filters. They create specific color profiles that are hard to replicate on your own. We partner up with Nik Collection to bring a 15% discount to our viewers. Use our link and coupon code below. Finally, let's come back to the Getty and Shutterstock merger for a second. Our take is that Getty will likely cut Shutterstock payouts, and if that happens, then Adobe will be one of the highest paying major platforms out there. Of course, there are other places like Alamy with 40% non-exclusive pay cut for contributors. But Alamy rarely brings large earnings compared to other 3 platforms. So at least that's true in our case. To be honest with you, I'm not sure that these 30 or 40% are sustainable long term. Getty may reduce prices for its subscription plans to play a hardball with its competitors after the merger is complete. This would force others to cut their contributor payouts to stay competitive with Getty. And we have seen this before in 2020. So if this merger succeeds, I see another round of payout cuts for contributors, unfortunately. So what is our advice for someone who is new to stock photography? And if these cuts will happen in the next 1 or 2 years? Well, in that case, stock photography will look a lot less appealing as a full-time business. To make it there, you will have to have an even larger stock photography portfolio that will take years to build. But on a positive note, Adobe stock still remains one of the few bright spots in stock photography, and we hope it will remain so for the foreseeable future. What do you think about these 3 platforms? Where do you get most of your sales, and what is your pay-per-download there? Let us know below in the comments. Also, like and subscribe to our channel for more content on stock photography and travels in the future. All the best!